Anyat Kusani Gunałchéesh Liz Ayahat Tlika Chenach Elizabeth Egan Yuhat Duasak Tlika Na Hatsati Tlika Ayaha Na Kahidi Tlingit Ka Irish Ka Alutik Yadi Hatsati Norwegian Dutch Han Ayahat Tlika Ka Taya Aya Ach Takanuku Illinois Ye Hat Kudzati Ka Squaxin Island Ani Camilchi Shelton Ye Hat Yati Gunałchéesh Anyat Kusani. This video message is in memory of Kingeisti. It comes from a group of us who have been studying Tlingit language in Seattle for a few years. These sessions have been led and guided by Nahan Gunałchéesh. Nahan's teachers have included Dutla, Kash Dutlik, Ka Dutlik, Ka Kingeisti. This year, due to the pandemic, we moved our Tlingit classes online onto Zoom, and Nahan invited Kingeisti to join our online classes. Kingeisti generously made himself available to our class, often joining a few times per week. Kingeisti spent time with his grandparents' generation, learning the language and culture as a child. Because Nahan is of the same clan as Kingeisti's grandpa, Tlingit Kit Gushihit. When Kingeisti and Nahan met and began a mentorship, Kingeisti called Nahan his grandpa, and Nahan called Kingeisti grandson. It has been a delight to be welcomed into the folds of the tender intimacy Nahan and Kingeisti have built over the years. Kingeisti was so generous as he shared traditional and personal stories with our group, leading us in language learning and song, revealing to us the many layers of culture and humanity embedded in the phrases. The language will teach you about itself, he said one day. Hayu Khatangi Itu Yeyati. You already have the language within you, he would say. Yes. And I am so grateful to him for helping us move ever forward on the path of learning our language and culture. There were days that a phrase would come to him and he'd be taken aback by the power, laughing and reflecting on the beautiful complexity of Tlingit. And he sure did love to have fun and laugh. I remember one Zoom class where a song came to him and we were all dancing together on Zoom, laughing and smiling. He'd tell us how he learned to love himself and accept himself, and how that was a source of true power and freedom. And he'd never hesitate to remind us that we too were geniuses and that we have our ancestors in us. Ha shuka awusku itu yeyati. He was a living embodiment of how gentle, intimate, and powerful we can be when we teach each other and treat each other with kindness, respect, patience, and love. Kusahan. May we all say Gunałchéesh, as Kingeisti did when he was so young, thereby accepting these wonderful gifts that we've been given. And may we all move forward with the clarity, having been uplifted and encouraged by our dear Kingeisti. As the waters of grief of this great loss are navigated, may the love and support of those of us who were so greatly uplifted by Kingeisti buoy up and hold up the hearts of his loved ones who are hurting. May the grieving processes be beautiful, even through the enormity of this loss and pain. And while we cannot be together in person, may it be sensed that you are held up from afar, with our love helping to wipe the tears and hold the broken hearts. Gunałchéesh.
Gunałchéesh, Liz. Jules, Ristine, Ayachat, Yech Nechet City, Kiksadi, Ayachat, Tlingit, Celtic, Norwegian, Ayachat, Tletka, Yadich, Nechet City, Tletka, Dachran, Ayachat, Filipino, Ayach, Dachanuhu, Shitka, Yechet Kutzite, Olympia, Yechet Yati, Gunałchéesh, Anyat Kusani, Stugachatiti, Uchan, Yechawuditi. On behalf of the Kingeisti clan, I extend my consolations and stand as witness to grieving the loss of cherished and respected Shangukeidi clan leader, Kingeisti, precious child of the Gunałchéesh clan and revered teacher and mentor. I humbly extend my sympathies and words of comfort to all Chakna, and especially for the Katzeek family, for the significant loss, and I'm here to share in your time of grieving. Chatutlitzin, because we cherish you. Chatutlitzin. I had the privilege to meet David earlier this year through the Tlingit group I am a part of. I grew to have a deep ocean of gratitude for everything he taught me. Although I never was able to meet David in person, only through the Zoom meetings that we had, he had such a presence that transcended any of these types of barriers. It felt as if he was in the room with all of us because he was so passionate about our language and our culture. Hayu Katangi, Hayu Kustiyi. His joyful laughter and booming voice filled up the room. Kingeisti was a kunch kachnigisati, a master storyteller who entertained and spellbound us all with his Tlingit tales. Kingeisti was one of the rare men that I looked up to or aspired to. He never missed an opportunity to acknowledge how the Kingeisti was his most precious dakunuhu, his outer shell. And he would say, "For without them, I wouldn't even be here today." He would say that to me over and over. He often showed emotion and vulnerability and modeled this as good and okay to bring that into your learning, into your life. And that it enriched the language speaking that we were doing. He said to our group once that we would hear his voice long after he was gone. It turned out that he was right. I can still hear him say, "Tlingit-dewe-wa-e, Tlingit-dewe-wa-e." You are a human being. You are a human being. Over and over. That was a very important thing to be reminded of. His loss will leave a void. I will work hard to fill that void with love for our language and our culture, and to honor his life and memory by continuing to cherish and protect Hakustiyi, Kahayukatangi, until it is my time to walk into the forest, where I am certain that we will smile on each other's faces again. Gunałchéesh Kingeisti, Gunałchéesh Ichatuwu. Thank you for teaching me. Ikach Gunałchéesh Iachtuwu Yati Kingeisti. Kunach Isikhan, Kunach Isikhan, Ichwisikha. I miss you. We miss you. Igu ayachon on your new journey. Igu ayachon. Isigach duach klak. Your voice will ring out and be heard forever, for always, all time. Gunałchéesh huchoe.
Yak sitini dakat at hunkian ka ach tu yanik. Tleka enak Michaela Taylor Yokat Duasak. Tleka Yadi Khat City. Tleka Dutch Khan Ayachat. Khatasak Ayach Dakanuku. Bethelkwan Dach Ayachat. Kenwick Yechat Kudzati. Portland Awe Ku'a. Ade Na'u Ka Gunałchéesh for letting me take some of your guys' time today. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I feel very privileged to be allowed into a space and to have been able to be graciously welcomed into a space where Kingeisti, someone so important to so many people and with such a fun personality and so loving to everyone here, to share his knowledge and just to be in his presence was really a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that. I recognize again that it's not a privilege that some of your own Tlingit people were able to enjoy, and again, I'm really grateful to have been in his presence. One thing that I really loved about being in these sessions with Kingeisti is that he had a way of knowing just exactly what kind of stories we needed to hear on that day. And I've heard other people say this too, but he just knew what you needed to hear. It was almost like he was just like looking right into our spirits and knowing exactly what it is that we needed. And sometimes I would just be like, oh my gosh, like, how does he know that I was feeling like mad today? And then I would hear other people say the same thing later and they'd be like, oh, how did Kingeisti know that I needed that exact story? And it was just such a special thing to be a part of. So I'm really grateful for that as well. It was very nice to be able to spend time with Kingeisti and hear those stories and be in the presence of his personality, especially in this time of the pandemic where we're not able to spend time with many of our beloved elders for many reasons. Yeah. Gunałchéesh Shangukeidi for having a precious member of your people spend time with us. Gunałchéesh Kingeisti. Yakudzike Tlingit Ituyayati Igua Yachwan Ka Yixikan Gunałchéesh Hooch away.
Yaklan Ayachat Guskikwan Kainach Randa Farrar Aya Achsai Tekwedi Nach Chatziti Chutzit Aya Hana Kahidi Kakwedi Ka Chanwan Yadi Chatziti Chanwan Dachchan Ayachat Chanwan Aya Ach Daknuchu Chetnewu Kwan Dachayachat Seattle Ye Chet Kudzati Kent Kuch A Anyat Chusani Ach Idashe Kwan Ade Yakwa Gut Ye Ya Yagi Ach Idashe Ade Kakwatanye Yat Ich Yat Aya Uhan Gach Ye Hayati Gunałchéesh Takat Iwan Sayanedi Gunałchéesh Ganaktedi Kiksadi Ka Takdintan Ka Shuknach Adi Ka Deshitan Ka Shinedi Ka Kwashkikwan Ja'ade Ye Chatnawu Akatchat sewach ach. If I've forgotten any Shayanedi Kwani, please forgive me. Shayanedi Gunałchéesh for Aniya Tusha Ishani Shitsi. I heard you telling me Iguaya Kwan, Itu Yeati, Gunałchéesh for catching our tears and standing up to support us. Yikujinawe kusihan akat kawashik. Love for one another fell upon us like a soft blanket. Gunałchéesh ya'at wone yiksihan shtakat achun chiyan Shangukeidi chak na. Kingeisti itusihan kusihan to Kingeisti's family. You are so loved, beloved by him. He never missed a moment to tell us his family stories, his ancestors, and love an yakhu Tlingit awewa for his family, his brothers Dennis and Daniel, his children Cheryl, John Sr., Brian, David Jr., Sean, Aaron, Margaret, Israel, and Luke. He loved you all so much. Chakat du khuni ka du kani. Gunałchéesh hashuka. Gunałchéesh hashagun. Hashikuhas to adachawe. Gut hajit kaduati. Kingeisti kunach. Klikudzi. Ach kuatlatu iset kwasi ach gau du achji. I listen to your voice like the beat of a drum. Yacheti wishisin kaat sagu to take iyati. And your strength and joy came from within your heart. Chachwa shaket ki sa Kingeisti hajik chanachas kaudikit. What great gifts Kingeisti has left in our hands. Gunałchéesh Tesh hastu ha kachikat. We don't wander around trying to find our way, because we had the honor to have you be our teacher, our mentor, opening our spirit and our hearts to Tlingit Kusti. We're honored to walk in the path that you have opened up before us. Chutlek du chus itichiati. We will follow in your footsteps, in the tracks you leave behind for us. Gunałchéesh, Huchawe.
Dunedin Jackson, Yohat Duasak, Cha'ak Yadi Hatsati, German Dutch Hun Ayachat, Klika Ayachat, Deslin Ka, Alberta Kwanda, Ayachat, Medicine Hat, Yi Hat Kudziti, Lethbridge, Yi Hat Yeti. What can be said about someone who stood so tall with such pride, joy, and welcoming kindness? Although we never had the opportunity to meet in person, Kingeisti was so full of life over Zoom during our Shangukeidi classes, always so present and engaged. Every time he logged in, he brought his knowledge alive. He shared his knowledge with a rare passion, and it was an honor and a privilege to be present. Ya une, he spoke with strength and kindness. Not only could he give a life lesson, a language class, and a history class at Kukde, he could also make people feel proud, strong, and capable because they were Tlingit awewa a human being. He reinforced Hadu yu chetangi ach tu yi yati. The language of theirs is inside me. Cha uahan kudzitich we ya jinai. We were born for this work. He didn't just uplift the language and the culture. He uplifted others to spirits. Kingeisti wanted to teach everyone to learn how to communicate on a deeper level. Asatidu, what we have. He taught me that the wisdom is practiced knowledge and that he practiced every day. David spoke to us like an uncle, always telling us, da tuitan, think about it, and ik chahin, I believe in everyone. He really did, and he made you feel it. Gunałchéesh, Kingeisti, for your time. Gunałchéesh for your patience. Gunałchéesh for your grace. Gunałchéesh. My heart has filled with grief, and it ebbs as flows with the tide, and I cherish Tlingit, the small gift of his life that I was permitted to partake in. The void by his loss is so great for so many, and I offer my thoughts and send my strength to his family and his loved ones in this difficult time. He is honored as we continue his important work. Gunałchéesh, Kingeisti, ich sichen, aguayach kwan.
I'll introduce Tlingit du Chaltu, learning Tlingit, so I'll introduce Asani as though they are speaking, because that's how I know at this moment. Tlingit Asani Wilson, Yuchat du Asak, Tekwedi Nachatsiti, Kutsit Ayaha Nakahedi, Uchka Ka Mexicano Yadi Khatsati, Gunałchéesh Dachchan Ayachat, Tlika Ayach Dakanuku, Sanya Kwan Dachayachat, Seattle Duamish Ani Yechat Kudzati, Seattle Duamish Ani Yechat Yeti. Antain Ayachat, Tlika Chenach, Alyssa White, Yuchat Duasak, Tekwedi Nachatsati, Kutsit Ayahana Kahidi, Gunałchéesh Yadi Khatsati, Tlika Dachchan Ayachat, Tlika Ayach Dakanuku, Sanya Kwan Dachayachat, Kitchan Yechat Kudzati, Seattle Duamish Ani Yechat Yeti. Ha tutla ishani ach tuwu yati ach awe chwasaku kegwake. Gunałchéesh hoho Kingeisti hakuat latuwu. Kingeisti's deep love for our people and his investment in sharing hakustiyi hayuchatangi kahatlingit tundatani will live on through all of us. Many of his teachings had made it to my heart through his mentoring of Ach Kuat Latuwu Nahan before I ever had a chance to meet him in person. I had the opportunity to meet him at the Language Summit in Juneau in 2018, and over these past 6 months was blessed to reconnect through our language class Zoom meetings. I was in my final month of pregnancy when he started to join us, and he shared knowledge about how our families would welcome a baby before they were even born and express their gratitude for them having chosen us. Gunałchéesh Asani received so much tenderness, love, and welcome from Kingeisti before their journey earthside. Asani was sung to and told that they are precious, Tlingit awewa. He assured me that there was music in me for my baby, and I have since made a song from the 4 corner posts of Tlingit education that Kingeisti shared with us that Asani has heard almost every day since they were born. Through this, he will continue to provide us strength and the undoubted knowledge that we are strong, intelligent, precious Tlingit people, and that our language and ways are inside of us. He shared with me, if you plant the seed of the language within you, it will come up. Let this be a springtime of your language. Ach tu yeyati, yekwati, wushjin tulshat yeso Kingeisti, tek hayati yakwaheguin, yichsichan sakarat kunkiyan, yaduchat, yiguayach kwan, yiguayach kwan, yiguayach kwan, yiguayach kwan. And I'll share with you the song that I sang, but I'll sing it for Kingeisti and his family at this time. Kingeisti itu sihan hatseye. Kingeisti itu sihan hatseye. Tlingit awe kakeide kakis a. Tlingit awe wa ea kitike. Tlingit awe wa ea ke atyakine. Tlingit awe wa utinye tikahine. Kingeisti itu sihan hatseye. Kingeisti itu sihan hatseye. Gunałchéesh.
Anyahu Usani, precious children of the land. Anyahu Yuhin, precious children of the water. Sukwatqua Ayahat, Glate Kahinach, Cheryl Demert Fairbanks, Yuhat Duasak. Tlingit Cha'ach Nach Hatati, Susan Simsian, Lach Jibu. My mother's name was CTU of the Kahoots Hitan, where she was adopted. Gathwait, my father, Takwanedi Yadi Hatsiti, Zatkwe Takwanedi Dashan Ayahat, George Demert Kahus Hitan, Dashan Ayahat, Chlawak Hinya Kwan Dach Ayahat, Kitchan Yahat Kuwaditsi, Cedar Crest, New Mexico, Ye Hat Yati. I'm here to share a memorial, and my sister Skaduch Millie Demert is also here with me, and we both live in New Mexico. She lives in Santa Ana, Pueblo. And this is a memorial note for our beloved Kingeisti. And he danced into our lives with full regalia, singing his song, telling his stories in many voices, with a smile as big and full as the moon, and our tears and laughter melting the ice around the heart. He was talking and singing in our Tlingit language. We paused to listen. We listened and listened as we were taught by our ancestors. You can really learn to listen, he would say. Kwani tu ya ye ti. Our ancient families are within you. He said, Tlingit away. Wa you are a human being. Tlingit aya uhan. He said, on Yahu you sani, precious people, precious children of the land. And it was the time of the pandemic, 2020, and Zoom. And he loved to suddenly appear on our screen. Yage yichat achat jini. It's great to see your faces. Iksihan hayu kwat yakatangi. I love you. Our language, he would say, and he would be speaking to the language. Hayu hatangi nachyach yati. Our language is like medicine. It was a medicine he gave us as a healing balm that healed our deep wounds and gave us the strength. Atu lasin, I have strength. And he said, Hey galasin hayu hatangi hatu yeyati. The strength of the language is within us. Ichadak nach tu ahi klinke yu hatangi. The language is coming through you. Yes, Tlingit is easy, he would say, because it's in our DNA. And we had our ancestors with us, and we practiced and practiced. And he always said we were beautiful, and we spoke so well. Even though we were inserting our missionary English, we were beginning to think in Tlingit. Flachat at atuyeyati. Everything is within you. You already have everything you need. Hashuka at wusuku ituyeyati. All of the wisdom of the ancestors is in you. And then he danced out of our lives. It was another deep wound that we were not expecting, yet he warned us over and over that he was not afraid, and for us to put aside our fears, but we did not want to let him go. Yet we could hear his words resounding within our mind, our body and spirit. He walked into the forest. We asked him to take messages to our ancestors that we are fine, we are Tlingit. We are keeping the fires burning. Our language is forever in our heart. Kingeisti's words are echoing every day and through eternity. We say, Kingeisti, Iksikhan, we miss you. You touched our hearts. You were so generous, kind, and loving. One day we will dance and sing with you and tell story after story, all in Tlingit. To Juan Aya Hatsiti, for we are the people of many tides, and through our precious Tlingit language, Tlingit you Hachatangi, we hear our ancestors praying and sending messages of courage. Igu Aya Juan. The tide comes in and the cold winds blow. We are the Tlingit messengers. The tide goes out and the taku winds whistle throughout eternity. We are Tlingit. That is right. Ye away. It is good. Yage. That is true. Ayahawe. We sing through our tears. Gunałchéesh, Gunałchéesh, Gunałchéesh to our mentor, our big tree, our strength, our Kingeisti. Awus kutu nahi. Kawi Digan, your knowledge shines through you, as said by our brother Jules of the Kingeisti. Gunałchéesh.
Kashtusik Ayaha. Frida Idi Ayaha. Daklawedi Nakhatsati. Kigushi hit Ayaha Nakihidi. Daklawedi Nakhatsati. Katasak Yidi Khatsati. Kagwantandakskan Ayaha. Suka Hari Ayah Dakanuku. Cluck on Kwandach Ayahat Ach Kwanki Ye Yat Kujiti Everett Ku A U Kingeisti Shikuji Kainach Ixicon Yixicon Kingeisti Achku Kahakusti very well. It was engulfed in us deeply, and with love and courage, he gave it to us. Kingeisti is a giant in our community, and he taught us Stakat at tu yayati, the 4 pillars of being human. Tlingit we awe, Tlingit we awe. Kingeisti was shared with us in a strengthening, loving, singing, laughing, crying, showing us his love to us and what Tlingit we awe engulfed. Some of his words that are in my heart are, every power will come through to assure you will succeed, created for us, found in you. Your language is running after you. Quit running. Kaha kusti, Kingeisti, Haji Iati, you gave to us. Gunałchéesh, 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 Tlingit, Tundatani, Sitsinik Siti. Our way of thought is our strength. Kingeisti.
Igayakwan.
Tlingit we awe.
Igaya Juan.
Gunałchéesh, Kingeisti. Gunałchéesh. Teanadi, Gunałchéesh Ixikan for holding us all up. Shangukeidi Kwani Yixikan Yi Kwayahuan Itu Yayati Tu Yayati Kingeisti Gunałchéesh Uchawe.
Chatsu achtuasagu achiyegu genk ha Tlingit yu chatangi tin yachana we achtachchanki sani. Achtuasagu yiguayachkwan stakat yuhan ka achtuasagu Gunałchéesh stakat yaslayan ad we yu chatangi Gunałchéesh nak yachyati yu chatangi Gunałchéesh Kingeisti Gunałchéesh Tlain Gunałchéesh Chatkua nahanayachat, Gunałchéesh, nachatsiti, kit gushi hit aya Shangukeidi, jilkat kwan ayachat, ishas payut ka deki na yadi ka payut yadi chatsiti. Achlil kuhas chatas ak dachchan ayachat. Kagwantan ka Shangukeidi ach dakanuku, Gunałchéesh, Stakat Juhan, Seattle Yechat Kudzati, Seattle Yechat Yati. Jinkat Tak Hayuk Atangi Stu Haltu Wayach Dachchan Kisani. Been studying with my grandson for about 10 years, off and on. And we started that journey together 10 years ago in Juneau. And David quickly became one of my best friends. Not only was he a mentor, but he was a solid best friend who I could tell anything I needed to. And he would always offer words of encouragement, words of support. And that journey has allowed me to develop in many ways throughout my life, and allowed me to share his teachings with many other people as well. And so it made sense to have him join us on our Tlingit language class over Zoom. And he became a pillar for each of us very quickly, as you can tell by how the participants have been responding. I just want to thank them for their words today, and to just to lift everybody up who has spent time with Kingeisti, and to let everybody know how precious he was to me. I had carved this little pendant, and it was a chilkat face, and I showed it during class, because usually during class I'd work on something. And when I showed it, Kingeisti was super excited about it, and I finished it up, painted it, and sent it up to him. But it had got sent back because his trailer number wasn't on the package itself. So I had it put on there and sent it up as soon as I learned about that. And I'm not sure if it made it up there, but if he did receive it, I'm really happy because it was something that stood out to him. And I hope that it made it to his hands before he walked into the woods, so that he could understand and feel the details of how much I loved him and how much I'm grateful for him. So Yahweh Yati Yidat. Our language is coming back like a strong wave, and our grandson is flying and creating that wave with his wings. He has created that wave, and we are riding that wave now, and we'll continue to ride it throughout time. Yahweh Achtuyati Yigu Ayach Kwan Yigu Ayach Kwan Anyat Kusania Yigu Ayach Kwan